వీహ ప్రారంభోత్సవంలో మంత్రి కేటీఆర్ మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. ఇప్పుడు ఆ లైవ్ చూద్దాం.
Or just pull out a list of people that have invented anything. I'm sure there are many women out there who have done lots, but unfortunately their names just don't pop up right up on the list. So when we started thinking, even when we draft a policy as a government, we talk about the marginalized sections. We talk about SC entrepreneurs, Dalit entrepreneurs, tribal entrepreneurs. We talk about entrepreneurs of all hues and shades, entrepreneurs from backward classes, etc., etc. But rarely do we touch upon this subject of women entrepreneurship. Even when we do, like I said, it's mostly tokenism, mostly symbolism. Mostly governments, when they talk about women entrepreneurs or efforts of women entrepreneurs and efforts of governments in terms of supporting women entrepreneurs, we don't sincerely get to the point of incorporating it in policy, get to the point of actually making a very strong statement through policy that we shall and we will encourage, and this is what we are going to do on a piece of paper. We don't normally do it. We talk on occasions like this, and then we renege and go away and do our own thing. That's typically is what happens. We wanted to talk about it. We actually wanted to introspect. We also wanted, in fact, when Deepthi came on board, the first meeting we had, myself, Jayesh, Funny, and bunch of my team members as well. In fact, for those of you who are wondering who Funny is, can you just come up onto the dais for a minute? Sama Funny is the gentleman who is credited with one of the most popular startups called Redbus, redbus.com. Walk up, please. Funny also, in fact, Sama Funny is, in fact, not just the founder of Redbus, but he is a gentleman who actually has his roots, who has his base right here in the state of Telangana. He is from Nizamabad, a guy who's gone to, he has a rural background, and then eventually I think Shashi Vangapalli had to go through her own journey of engineering or medicine or, a sort of a debate, and then you eventually end up completing your engineering in Hyderabad or Bangalore, and then you end up starting to work in some tech company. That's, I think, how Funny's journey started as well. But I think the good thing for him was when he was in Bangalore, he had told me, and I'm paraphrasing quite liberally, he had told me that the good thing about his entrepreneurial journey was he had a lot of support groups around him. He had a lot of people to support him when he was in Bangalore. He had an idea. He didn't really know how to be an entrepreneur. But the good thing was there were people around him to guide him. See, that's what these incubators are all about. In fact, if you ask me, Shashi has succeeded despite not having any incubator to support her. And so is the case with Sneha and her sister, Sahitya. My bad, sorry, I'm getting old. Sneha and Sahitya, they have succeeded despite not having a proper incubator and somebody to really guide them. But they have done it on their own. The fact is, if they had mentorship, if they had access to capital, if they had access to a network which could help them, overcome these regulatory barriers, bureaucratic barriers, and in terms of incorporating something, in terms of setting something up, it would have made it that much more easier, that much more quicker, and they would not have had to go through so many things as they have otherwise. See, there are a lot of examples of people, entrepreneurs who have succeeded despite any support from the system. In fact, even if you look at our sports stars, sporting champions today, and many of whom are women and who are actually having roots in Hyderabad. Look at Sania, look at Sindhu, look at Saina, look at Aruna Reddy, who won something recently, who won the bronze in world gymnastics. You look at any of these champs, Jwala, so many of them in fact. Many of them in fact have done it despite any support from the government or despite any support from the system that we live in. In fact, one of the things we said, we said to ourselves when we said, let's do a V-Hub. Were we doing it purely because this was a statement we wanted to make on the ultimate day of GES? No. We said, if you have, see, I have two children. I have a 12-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl. I think everything else being equal, their creative juices, their level of intellect, everything else being equal. Same background, same family, same everything, right? But if they were to start their entrepreneurial journey, let's think and let's introspect for a second. Is it easier for the guy versus the girl? I would say absolutely yes, no matter which part of the world you're in. You could be in United States, you could be in India, you could be any part of the world. The fact of the matter is, this is not a very fair world to women. So when we started thinking about women entrepreneurs or our efforts to support women entrepreneurs, why should we do this? That kind of questions popped up. And like I said, was it merely to basically make a statement? No. We eventually, when we had our first conversation, Jayesh, myself, Funny, Deepthi, all of us, we only said one thing. See, if we succeed, we are going to be a role model for the rest of the country. If we succeed in this effort of creating some champions, of creating some really, really strong women entrepreneurs, we would be a role model for the rest of the country. If we fail, if we don't really succeed, because startups, as you know, 90% of them, more than 90% in fact, do fail. If we fail, we said, let's celebrate failure, but at the same time, let's make sure that we actually make this story a part of every single government in India, including Government of India's policy guidelines. We should get into that state where we dictate policy of each and every government, even if we fail. That was the original idea. But in the last 3 months, we had several brainstorming sessions, and I have deviated, I've realized, from my written speech. But in the last 3 months, we've had several brainstorming sessions. We had several meetings. The only thing we said to ourselves is, let's begin, let's make that first move. Let's take that first step. And I'm sure things will fall in place. When we started T-Hub as well, we had no idea how this was going to end up. We initially started off a dialogue with ISB, IIIT, and then some like-minded people. And today, it is India's largest technology incubator. And it's shaped up so well that recently at WEF, the World Economic Forum, one of T-Hub incubators actually had won the Circular Award. So it has really shaped up, propelled itself into an orbit of its own, and it is able to inspire many, many states across the country to do something exactly similar. So when we started talking about VHub as well, the idea is pretty similar. Access to capital, access to mentorship, access to an enabling environment which will help a woman to succeed despite all the challenges, despite all the barriers that are inherently imposed, ingrained into our society and our mindsets. That was the original thinking. Now, what are we going to do? Is this only for technology entrepreneurs? No. This is going to be a platform that will be open for all kinds of innovations. It could be a tech startup. It could be a startup in social innovation. It could be a startup elsewhere. It could be an idea which is completely radically different. I remember some really amazing stories. We had Facebook come to us. There's a very strong lady in Facebook called Akhi Das. She came to us about 2 years ago, and she said, we are launching this very unique program called Boost Your Business. There are a lot of small entrepreneurs who really don't have access to capital, who really don't have access to a great network, who really can't set up a boutique or a store of their own, or they may have a brilliant idea, but they just don't know how to market it because they don't have the luxury of capital. She told us that using Facebook, the social media platform, there are some amazing women who have built amazing stories and amazing enterprises. And initially I did not buy into it, but when she actually showcased examples of women in Hyderabad, some women who have like 300, 400,000 followers and get plenty of orders. There's a girl called, I don't recall her name, Sarita was she? There was a girl exactly like Shashi who was working, Kalyani, I believe. So there was this girl who was working like any other young girl. After finishing her engineering, she started working in a technology company as an engineer. And then she said, this is not my calling, I want to be an entrepreneur. And she quit it. And then she started doing something very, very, which is not really out of the world, which is not really something, which we can call disruption, but she started doing what is called as Pelli Pula Jada. Kalpana, my bad. Not Kalyani, but Kalpana. So this girl, when she started her journey, she had no support. She and her mother, they both started this small outfit. They built up the empire, and like how Shashi proudly said, I employ 300 people. This girl today employs, I believe, more than 600 people, all by herself. All through social media, all through Facebook. Likewise, I have the name, I again forgot the name of the lady. a lady based in Secunderabad. She has her own cake shop. She has her own pastry shop. And using Facebook, now she delivers more than 10,000 orders per month, just using Facebook. Point I'm trying to make is, what the government could not provide, what, say, physical infrastructure that she did not have access to, a social media platform could give it to her, and she was able to build an empire or at least an enterprise. Now that's exactly what we want to do here. We want to provide that platform for you to come in, start working with us. We'll get you access to mentors, successful people. And I loved the point that Vani made. Let's not be exclusionist. Let's not say, we are talking about women-led enterprises. We are talking about women entrepreneurs. That does not mean women-led enterprises should not have space for men. You should absolutely, use them where you have to use them and make sure employ the right kind of people, irrespective of their gender. As long as they're led by women, as long as they're going to create some really, really strong women entrepreneurs. That is the idea. Even the mentor network, like Vani said, she had some very strong mentors who were men, incidentally. Suhas. In fact, when Vani and I were talking, and then suddenly she had John Chambers, who was standing right next to us. She told him an amazing story. She said, "John, I heard one of your speeches. It inspired me so much." She was working in Silicon Valley, I think. She said, "It inspired me so much that after listening to you, I decided to be an entrepreneur." And that's, in fact, a real story that she shared with John Chambers recently when she met him. The point I'm trying to make is, it's not just about creating a few hundred or a few tens of entrepreneurs through VHub. What we aspire to do is inspire more people. When I think the two young girls, Sahitya and Sneha, spoke here, the passion that was oozing, it's very, very difficult to speak in front of an audience. I think many of you can definitely relate to that. It's very, very terrifying. In fact, people say, studies have shown that it is more feared than death. Public speaking is more feared than death. I don't know if you know this. Point I'm trying to make is, these three young girls, when they were up here, there was nobody on the dais. They were speaking to you, they were talking to you. I don't know how often they actually do public speaking. I do it every single day. But the kind of energy, the kind of passion, the kind of confidence that they were able to showcase, I think that is what we want in many, many young women across the state of Telangana. You are going to fail. Many, many startups will fail. It's a fact. Fact of life is, we all commit mistakes, we all make mistakes, we all are not extremely innovative when it comes to, the theme line could be ideate, implement, and inspire. But yes, most of our ideas could have been implemented elsewhere and they need not be original, so we might end up failing. But the fact of the matter is, as long as you're inspired enough to try, as long as you're inspired enough to continue to try until you succeed, I think that is what this whole concept of entrepreneurship is all about, and the whole concept of incubation supported by government is all about. Now, like I said, there are 2-3 things I wanted to, in fact, the numbers, which I don't want to mess with. Let me just quickly get to that. We are going to also forge a lot of partnerships. In fact, there are more than 35 co-working spaces and incubators in the city of Hyderabad. And in fact, VHub will be collaborating with each and every one of them. In fact, what we would like to do ideally is build a pool of mentors across all these incubators. And in fact, funny is today, possibly we are the only state, like Vani pointed out, which has appointed a Chief Innovation Officer, a CIO. Funny is leading our effort on the innovation side across the state. Even he would be working very closely with Deepti and her team. The reason is, we want to catch our youngsters very, very young. We want to start right at the junior college level, +2. And we want to inspire them. We want to actually reach out to them. We want to give them this idea, because in our society, I grew up right here in Hyderabad. I think so did many of you. The first thing we are told, especially in our homes, is that you only have 2 choices. You have to operate with blinders. You only have 2 choices, either become an engineer or a doctor. I think like Shashi, like others who spoke, like Sahitya, even I wanted to do something else. Even I wanted to go into the commerce stream, economic stream. Unfortunately, again, got into the same rut. Point I'm trying to make is, I think if we catch our youngsters really young, irrespective of whether they are male or female, if we catch them young, before they are actually told by their parents, the society, that this is what you have to do, I think that's when you'll actually be able to get their creative juices flowing. And that's what I would appeal to both Deepthi and Fani to do. We have to reach out to the +2 students. We have to encourage them to participate. In fact, as a government, what we plan to do is, if a student wants to dabble in innovation, dabble in entrepreneurship, we are also going to offer them course credits. It's not one of those SUPW kind of exercises that we have in school. I don't know how many of you can relate to SUPW. I had it in my school. What is it called? Socially useful productive work. It's absolute crap, if you ask me. You have to stick some things in your notebook and present it to the teacher, and then they just give you some marks. It was one of those things you do on the side. Point I'm trying to make is, if you're going to ingrain this, make it innate to the curriculum. Make sure our kids and our parents, our society understands that entrepreneurship could also, lead to something productive. I think that's what will eventually make difference. A lot of entrepreneurs have been inspired by the ecosystem. Today all of us talk about Silicon Valley as the Mecca of innovation. Why is that? Why is it Mecca of innovators? Why is it this place which continues to inspire us, continues to create amazing inventions, amazing disruptions? Why is an Elon Musk there and not here? That's because there is that conducive ecosystem. That is because there are people who are willing to bet on you. There are people who are willing to take chances. There are people who are willing to give you that opportunity. And talking about opportunities, let me tell you this. Telangana government will be the first customer for any startup who will be working through VHub. We'll in fact be giving you opportunities. We'll be giving you opportunities to work with us. And in fact, Jayesh will explain to you, normally any government will have to go through a procurement process. If you have to procure something, we'll have to go through a process, bidding, price discovery, etc. But in the case of startups and in the case of entrepreneurs from our state, we have made an exception. We can actually procure directly from them, bypassing any procedures that have been laid out. But that is one unique opportunity which I request you all to leverage, which I request you all to latch onto. The other thing I also wanted to point out, delighted that Salesforce is here through Shweta Rajpal Kohli. She's here. She's the, what is your title now? I keep forgetting. She's a very important person in Salesforce. Let's put it that way. So she's here. Shweta was, in the media for very, very long. Shweta, I request you not only to support us through Salesforce, but also please talk to your friends in media and make sure that the good word is, spread across the country. And if Telangana government through T-Hub could inspire 8 states to set up their own incubators, I am sure through VHub we'll also be able to, inspire at least a few, and that will probably help not just Telangana but the rest of the country and women across the rest of the country as well. The last thing I want to say before I quit, we have a lot of policies already. I think Jayesh will touch upon them a bit. We have what is called as T-IDEA, the industrial policy, out of which again we have several different components and several different vectors. I would request all of you, in fact, please to familiarize yourself with the kind of incentives that government is offering, because a lot of times what happens is good policies are made, but unfortunately they are not really communicated, or the information is really not disseminated to a lot of budding entrepreneurs. So for those of you who are interested, my request is, there are websites, there is adequate information out there, and there is VHub now for you to reach out, familiarize yourself with the kind of incentives you can get, with the kind of support you can get from the government. Please leverage that. Please ensure that each of you support one another and create a strong pool of mentors, strong pool of network, and government will continue to work to build a strong ecosystem to bring in more and more capital, because ultimately without capital nothing can happen. We are starting off with about 15 crore rupees from the government side, from Telangana government side, and the grants we would be giving would range from 25 lakhs to 1 crore. That is the initial seed money that we are starting out with. I know it's very small, but eventually the idea is, when we are starting, this is the first step. We would also like to be inspired. We would also like some success stories to come out of VHub. Once they start pouring out, I think even government's commitment, even the private sector's interest would also start pouring in. So once again, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you to Madam Tessie Thomas. Thank you, Vani, for also, in fact, I thought Vani was going to write a check, but she did commit to it, and we have you on tape, Vani, so I'll hold you to it. And thank you to all the other women entrepreneurship, other women entrepreneur networks who are represented here. Leap, Kowe, Flow, and all others who are represented here. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. I think change begins when we first acknowledge the need for change, and this entire initiative by the government of Telangana is exactly that. It is acknowledging the gap that exists and helping to bridge that, setting an example in Telangana for the country and the world. Possibilities. So, on behalf of all the women here, we thank the Minister for his vision as far as WeHub is concerned. So amongst the objectives of WeHub, right, yes, it is, the motto is ideate, implement, inspire. The idea is not to reinvent the wheel in every area.